Hey guys, welcome back. It's Neon. I'm going to talk a little bit about comic books today. I'm going to talk about IDW Publishing. And, so this is kind of interesting. I saw this floating around Twitter yesterday that IDW could possibly be putting itself up for sale. And that makes total sense given how the company is in pretty dire straits right now. It's really sad to see IDW at one point in time was a very prominent comic book publisher, but just over the last couple of years, they've just gone from like hero to zero. It's been really sad to see. Disclaimer: I used to do some work for IDW here and there. Did some Transformers stuff, did some Disney stuff. Always liked the IDW crew. Now, I will say on the financial end of things, being completely honest, I think the last work I did for IDW was like 3 or 4 years ago. I actually did have a hard time getting paid. It took me like 4 months to get paid, and I had an agent and everything, and I had to kind of chase them for money. So I don't know if they were holding on to payments back then or what, but I know in the last 2 years, especially, IDW has just fallen very, very far financially. They've had a lot of controversy about some of their creatives. They've had all kinds of shuffling at the top with editors and publishers and VP of this and VP of that. It's been a mess. But this is coming from Newsarama. I guess this came out yesterday that IDW might be for sale. JP Morgan has been hired to review the company and maximize stockholder value. Maximize stockholder value. So let's read a little bit of this, and then we'll kind of talk about where IDW is right now. Now, I haven't really been following it too closely. I know there are some other YouTubers out there like Umbrella Guy that kind of give you the blow-by-blow of where IDW is, from like month to month or quarter to quarter. I just know they're in bad shape. So I'm going to go and kind of pull up some information that I have and, make a little bit of speculation based on what I've seen. So IDW Media Holdings has hired JP Morgan to help in a company review for possible sale or other alternatives to maximize stockholder value and realize the full potential of its vast content library and pipeline. Let's stop right here. This is probably the biggest problem that IDW has, is that they don't have a lot of IP. IDW has spent most of its lifetime chasing after licenses, licensed books, Disney books. Now they're doing Marvel books. They do Sonic the Hedgehog, Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, like all the Hasbro licenses. IDW owns very, very little IP itself. So it's going to be really hard for them to make a case to sell this company to presumably a movie studio or something, because that seems to be what's fashionable now. I know Valiant recently got a huge cash infusion from a movie studio. Of course, Marvel and DC are owned by movie studios because they're going to make movies based on the characters that they own. IDW owns very, very little, and that is actually that's going to bite them in the butt. Okay, IDWM, which is IDW Media Holdings, I believe, continues to build on its extensive library of widely followed and critically acclaimed graphic novels and comics, as well as its slates of current and planned television series, including some of the strongest and most innovative franchises in the industry, said company chairman Howard Jonas. So let's stop here too. IDW had to borrow a bunch of money from Howard Jonas back in January, and I think Howard Jonas wants his money back. $28 million to keep the company afloat. Now, what they have in production is Lock and Key, which was a pilot for Hulu. It did not get picked up, but it supposedly is getting picked up by Netflix, which makes sense considering that they've done The Umbrella Academy, they have Stranger Things. Netflix makes sense. How it's going to do, I don't know. But again, Lock and Key is one of the few IDW IP, actual IP that they own. The other series they're banking on is Winona Earp, and it's on the rocks right now. It's on the verge of getting canceled. So, it's probably not going to get renewed. So, okay, so we've got Lock and Key, which is coming to Netflix, and we've got Winona Earp, which is going to be canceled, and the other shows are talking October Faction, no idea, Netflix, I guess, and V-Wars on Sci-Fi. Okay, well, good for them. But Lock and Key, of course, is the big one. But, I mean, this right here represents pretty much like a good chunk of their actual IP. Again, IDW does not actually own much. They publish a lot of licensed books. Even the games, their games, they publish a lot of licensed games, you know, Ghostbusters and stuff like that. You know, IDW, I don't understand why, when they've had all of this time, they haven't developed more in-house properties. I know, you know, they just never really seemed that interested in developing IP that they owned. You know, they're chasing these licenses, and I don't understand it, because now they want to sell the company, and they really don't have anything to sell. So as competition for audience continues to intensify on both traditional and streaming over-the-top platforms, IDWM is well positioned to produce and feed stellar programming in domestic and international markets, added Jonas. Please give me my money back. Consequently, we're working to extend our reach through new strategic partnerships, while examining other alternatives to realize the full value of IDM's outstanding IP portfolio and pipeline. They don't own anything. This is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. They don't own anything. They're not very attractive to movie studios, and comic book shops are closing. You know, DC's cutting back on its line. Marvel is not terribly important to Disney as a comic book publisher. You're not going to have another comic book publisher buy IDW. Disney's not going to buy IDW. They don't have enough to offer. Not for the amount of money that they probably want. This comes a few weeks after a representative from ADW Capital Partners, who owns 9%, released a letter calling for the company to be acquired. Adam Wyden said the recent acquisition of Valiant by DMG and Miller World by Netflix set a precedent for IDW's market value, especially given this company is larger as a comics company than those other two examples. Yes, but they also own IP. Valiant has its own characters. Miller World has its own characters. IDW has very little. IDW is in an enviable position as the fourth largest comic book publisher by dollar share, Wyden said. We're consistently amazed by the quality of the company's leadership and its ability to source, incubate, and add to its growing library of content and intellectual property. According to Wyden, IDW owns or co-owns over 200 franchises. I really question that. Because they bank heavy on license stuff. So, you know, here is the article coming from institutional investor. Hedge fund presses IDW Media to sell itself or risk struggling. They're already struggling. There is no risk. They're already struggling. So, hedge fund firm ADW Capital Partners is pushing IDW Media Holdings to sell itself about 2 months after the media business warned it would need to raise capital from shareholders. So ADW, which owns more than 9% of IDW, said Tuesday that the sale would help maximize the value of its intellectual property. Again, they don't own very much intellectual property. The hedge fund said the market is discounting the value of IDW because of its lack of scale and resources, or its unwillingness to sell to a strategic partner. The company, which publishes comic books and distributes television shows, announced on December 21st that it had obtained financing from Howard Jonas, still need an investment to cover production costs. They're basically banking on TV right now, and they don't have a lot going on other than the Sci-Fi show and Lock and Key. I mean, Winona Earp is going to get canceled. There's not much going on. They really don't have a lot. And if you go out to their comic book sales, like, look, this is the February Comic-Con numbers. The very best-selling IDW title is licensed. It's Sonic the Hedgehog. It only sold 11,000 copies. Next up is the Marvel books, which I'm really shocked that these aren't selling better. Number 2, Action Avengers, IDW, 10,000 copies. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, again, licensed, 10,000 copies. Star Wars, licensed, 9,000 copies. Star Trek Transformers, none of this they own. They don't own any of this. G.I. Joe, we've got G.I. Joe comics, we've got Ninja Turtles, Dick Tracy, DuckTales, GoBots, they don't own any of this. Judge Dredd, they don't own it. What would somebody be buying? I mean, they wouldn't be buying anything. They're buying a comic book publisher, and they're not even a very good comic book publisher. Most of their titles sell between 3 to 10,000. 3 to 10,000 is the most you can hope for an IDW monthly book. I don't see anything in here that's, oh, here we go. Issue number 1 of Punk's Not Dead, London Calling. That might be an original IP. Issue number 1, 2,000 copies. And then we're down to Disney Afternoon Giants only selling 2,000 copies. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. Atomic Robo is selling under 2,000 copies. Like, who's gonna buy this? Who's gonna buy this company? I don't know. I just think I think IDW's time is up. I think their time is up. And I think we're going to see, with the comic book industry shrinking, I think we're going to see more companies, IDW, possibly Dark Horse, those who rely heavily on just, publishing comic books. I don't think they're going to make it. I really don't think they're going to make it. I don't know who's going to buy IDW. I wouldn't. I mean, if I had the money, I wouldn't, because there's nothing to buy. I mean, literally anybody could go out and start a comic book company and get those same licenses if all you want to do is publish comic books. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on this situation. We'll keep an eye on, rumblings in the comic book industry. I think we're going to see some big changes in the next, 2 to 5 years in the direct market. We're already starting to see it. We'll keep an eye on it here on Clownfish TV. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, rants, gaming videos, art videos, and more. This has been Neon. I'll talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.